Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jay, and I'm a historian with a master's degree in military history, but I also like venturing out from that. So this week, it's actually going to sound like a drier version of Behind the Bastards because the person I want to talk about is not a good man at all, and in fact, supports many causes which I think that you hard opposed to, especially these days if you're more centrist or on the left, as this person is actually responsible for a lot of the far right advocacy groups, especially ones that cater toward racists and neo Nazis and fascists, as well as uh, the Confederate lost causers. And this guy has also used his notoriety to connect these groups and folks with similar causes and their compatriots overseas. So this week, that is going to we're going to talk about the far right attorney Kirk Lyons. So I heard about this guy at the AHA meeting this year because sometimes when you attend a historical convention like the American Historical Association's annual meeting or the Society for Military History's annual meeting, you learn about a background figure that has actively influenced the course of history. And like I said, that after this year's AHA meeting, that this week's figure is the far right attorney Kirk Lyons. I became aware of his efforts in an AHA panel on his work related to the Confederate uh, on his work to relate the Confederate Lost Cause myth with a similar German lost cause related to the Third Reich, as was presented by Dr. Michelle Lynn Kahn from University of Richmond out in Virginia. I've also opted to use this subject to experiment with both the Gemini 3 and GPT AI engines, and I should declare I gained most of the information from Dr. Khan's presentation, so it came from a subject matter expert, and then I complemented it with the AI. So if you are a viewer that is in high school, college, or graduate student, please consult with your instructors about their positions on using AI in your research. And I will also note that, and this is a very big warning, that AI is only as good as the information has been fed. I did a few other AI prompts on my particular knowledge of the Anglo German naval arms race between 1906 and 1914, and I found that at best AI is 90% accurate. There were still a few misconceptions that the AI caught and presented as fact, but I can go back and find the documents and both primary and secondary literature and be like, nope, AI is wrong. I will always caution that it is always very important to review the results of an AI search before submitting them as a final work. And also, I have abundance of caution. Note when AI is being used to assist in the research, which is what I did. Fortunately for this week's video and my methodology, I actually worked backwards from Dr. Khan's presentation with the AI, which I think is a better approach. To get a good understanding of the historiography of the topic on your own or from subject matter experts, and then use AI to try and find any gaps. So the reason why I picked Kurt Lyons this week is he ended up being both an interesting subject for those trying to understand the far right neo Nazis here in America, but also their interconnection with far right neo Nazi groups in Germany. Especially during the early to mid 1990s, Lyons' relationships with German neo Nazis, such as Andreas Strassmayer, demonstrated that the German American fascist connections were alive and continuing to attract those who sought to promote the master race. So Lyons actually came to prominence in the late 1980s with the Fort Smith sedition trial of the Aryan, featuring the Aryan Nations, Richard Butler, as well as former KKK Dragon ambassador for the Aryan Nations, Louis Beam. There was also another 12 folks on that trial that were involved in that trial as well. So at this trial, despite the prosecution's numerous witnesses to develop a very complex criminal conspiracy, Lyons did his job and was able to show enough reasonable doubt that the defendants were acquitted of all charges, including amongst them seditious conspiracy, transporting stolen money, and conspiracy to commit murder. And this was at the time seen as a victory for the militant right and groups such as the Aryan Nations and KKK, and this elevated Lyons to a level of notoriety uh, and celebrity amongst the radical far right. The Aryan Nations invited Lyons to speak at their 1988 World Congress, where he proposed to set up a nonprofit legal defense foundation that would oppose government prosecutions of the far right and would stand up against the civil rights organizations such as the Southern Poverty Law Center, also known as the SPLC, and also the American Civil Liberties Union, also known as the ACLU. True to his word, Lyons set up the Patriots Defense Foundation in 1989 in Houston, and during the early to mid 1990s gained even more notoriety by representing far right extremists at trial, and he also included his involvement representing the interests of Randy Weaver during the Ruby Ridge siege, and also the Branch Davidians in Waco in 1994. Among the other organizations Lyons would represent during his time did included the aforementioned Aryan Nations, the KKK, Posse Comitatus, the White Aryan Resistance, and the White Patriot Party. So this chart you see on your screen, it was created by Gemini 3, which lists some of these cases. And so you can see he was working, not exactly working with just one far right organization. He was working with quite a few. Beginning in 1991, Lyons began to extend his reach overseas, and as part of that, he rebranded the Patriots Defense Foundation as Cause and moved the organization to Black Mountain in North Carolina in 1992. As part of this desire to extend its reach overseas, Lyons sought to integrate uh, the American militant right movements into the broader European neo-fascist and racist conversation. This all started again with a court case in Canada involving Ernst Zundel, a Holocaust denier. As part of his defense, Zundel's legal team hired an expert in execution equipment, Fred Lutcher, to produce a report which would disprove the existence and use of the gas chambers in Nazi concentration camps. Part of Lutcher's work was to create this report, and that also involved the theft of bricks from Auschwitz, and then he used those bricks to create a false scientific study. So while Lutcher was eventually prosecuted for perjury, his report became the foundation and the Bible for the broader Holocaust denial movement. As Lutcher had hired Lyons to represent him, the latter organized and embarked on a speaking tour across Germany in 1991, mainly to raise funds for this trial, and also to network with the National Democratic Party, the NDP, and other neo-Nazi groups. Well, it appears that the Lichter case was settled before a trial. Lyons continued to network with German extremists. Again, Gemini did create this chart showing the various European groups that Lyons had interactions with. He also advocated for these German far right groups to adapt their own version of the lost cause, like the former Confederates and their sympathizers did in the late 18th, late 19th century. Having a narrative of noble defeat was something that the American far right extremists and the neo Nazis were able to bond over. After the mid 1990s, especially after the investigations into the Oklahoma City bombings were wrapped up, and Lyons did find himself representing a a potential suspect that never went to trial. Lyons founded and or guided three more far-right advocacy groups. And I will put another Gemini created list on the chart uh, so you can see. There was the American Friends of the British Nation Party, the Sons of Confederate Veterans, and most importantly, for our purposes today, the Southern Legal Resource Center, SLRC. The SLRC was explicitly founded by Lyons to be a civil rights organization to defend the heritage and traditions of the Confederate South. Namely, it's the exact polar opposite of the Southern Poverty Law Center. All told, Kirk Lyons is still around in the background today, continuing to support the extreme militant far right racists, anti Semites, Holocaust deniers, neo Nazis, and fascists through legal means. His organization continue to connect these militant far right actors with like minded individuals and organizations in the United States and abroad. Most damaging was Lyons' defense of the Lichter report, as it has become the primary source that Holocaust deniers refer to when defending or advocating for their horrific position. Like I said, I picked this gentleman out to be profiled due to his continuing influence on the very far right, militant rights and racist rights efforts, and he's a background. Yes, he's in the background, but background people sometimes have a bit of more influence than you realize. Also, I will say that as someone who has served on a criminal jury trials jury, I am not going to condemn Mr. Lyons for representing his clients, as everyone in this country does have a right to due process, and also a right to have sound legal counsel. So that part I will say perfectly fine with. I personally do not think that racism or fascism has a place in our country, so I will oppose him on that ground. I hope you did like this. Like I said, this is just first of experiments of trying to incorporate AI into creating these videos, as unfortunately I can't be a subject matter expert on everything. I do hope that that is okay with you. I do encourage you kind of try to play around with AI a little bit to help you, find sources, and just kind of get a quick summary of stuff. And just like I said earlier, make sure that you understand that AI is not perfect. I say at best with historical stuff, I find it to be about 90%. But that's only just as good as what it understands about historiography. Anyway, it's good to see you guys. I know this winter storm going on right now, so please, I hope you are bunkered down and nice and safe and sound with your favorite fur babies or family. And I hope you guys can make it through safely this weekend. And with that, please like this if you enjoyed the content. Subscribe if you haven't. Share this with someone else you think would like it. Also, especially since covering such a heated topic this week, please be very kind and respectful to everyone in the comments. And until then, I will see you next week. Bye bye.